I don't look like the stereotypical Webster's Dictionary police officer, but I want to make a difference. I want to help bring people justice that have been victimized. I want to help find the truth. Or hey, you know what? I just want to go and help people on the worst day of their life.
Brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
You're listening to the Black and Blue Podcast, a discussion and celebration of the roles of African Americans and other minorities in U.S. law enforcement. Your host on the Black and Blue Podcast is Dale Peters, a law enforcement professional with over 20 years experience in the business. Hop on board this Black and Blue train of interviews, current events, and pop culture conversations. So get ready. The Black and Blue Podcast is coming at you right now. Hey, Square Pegs, what's going on? Welcome to another fun-filled and fact-filled edition of the Black and Blue Podcast, where we celebrate diversity in U.S. law enforcement. If this is your first time here, let me introduce myself. My name is Dale, and I'm the host of this little show I call Black and Blue. And if you're a returning viewer or listener, thank you for finding your way back here. I truly appreciate the support. Please continue to support by clicking those like, subscribe, and bell icons right down here on my YouTube channel. And if you're listening to me on your favorite podcast platform of choice, please rate the Black and Blue Podcast 5 stars. And lastly, check out the Black and Blue Podcast social media pages for even more content. You can find me everywhere at Black and Blue US. All right, so with that said, let's welcome today's guest. He is a 24-year veteran of the Stockton Police Department, all the way up there in Northern California. Square Pegs, let's give a warm Black and Blue welcome to Captain Antonio Sajor. How you doing?
Very good. Thank you for inviting me on the show. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. How's things going up there in Stockton, California, like I introduced you with?
Normally I introduce this as sunny Stockton, California, but we've had some rain
Yeah, 'cause
here.
we're raining down
recently. Oh, it's been we've been having that atmospheric river, and it's been coming down on us in a way I haven't seen since I was a kid up here. So it hasn't been too sunny, but no, it's moving pretty good. Getting through the holidays, getting to hit this new year. See if we can make 2022 move on and be better than 21 and 20.
Yes, we'll definitely talk about 2020 because 2020 was a major, and 2021 was a little bit better, but we're getting through it. And 2022, like you said, hopefully we can make that a whole lot better than the past 2 years were. So absolutely. So I mentioned that you are a captain with the Stockton, California Police Department. Before we get a little bit into you, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Stockton, where it's located, the demographics of it?
Sure. Stockton, California is here in the Northern Valley. So we're situated about 40 miles south of Sacramento and about, 50 miles due east of San Francisco, right between Interstate 5 and 99. We're about 64 square miles. We're authorized for 485 sworn. And we are a very diverse community. Stockton started out in the 1850s with the gold rush. It was one of those towns people came for supplies, very agrarian, and then we've grown into a small municipality, and we have a lot of great people here with a lot of great culture, and a lot of loving people that really appreciate just being here.
Yeah, Stockton's grown a lot. I remember back in the day, at least back in the 90s, I had heard about Stockton because I love the Bay. I love going up to San Francisco and all that. And then when I would hear about people living in Stockton, and I went out there once, and I wasn't too impressed with it back in the 90s. But it's grown a lot. I've got a daughter who's just about to graduate high school, so she's done some college trips, and she went up there to University Pacific, and she really liked that school. She said it's really pretty up there.
Yes, Pacific is a great university. It's right here in Central Stockton. A lot of people don't know that one of the scenes from the original Indiana Jones was filmed there. It's got a great pharmacy school. But you're right, in the 90s, Stockton hadn't grown a lot. We had a lot of exponential growth growth in the late 90s, early 2000s with the housing boom. We grew on all four corners. We had a lot of infill growth and started recreating our identity as a bigger city. And of course, with a lot of growth, you start having different problems. You have different different people who have never lived in the city. So we did have a great influx of people from the Bay Area come to Stockton, people from the Los Angeles area come up here because they were finding an inexpensive home up here and bringing their family up here to try and find a better life.
Right.
And it's funny. A lot of those people came up here for that, and there was a clash initially, and they became Stocktonians. And they found they found their way into the Stockton culture and sent their kids to school here and became proud Stocktonians. But yeah, I grew up here in Stockton. I was born in French Camp, which is the county hospital just south of here. Most people that were born in French Camp at the county hospital will say, "I was born in Stockton." No, you're actually really born in French Camp. And my mom corrects me all the time. She goes, "No, you were born in French Camp. You were raised in Stockton."
You were raised in Stockton.
So,
okay.
I was raised in Stockton. I went to Stockton public schools, and I was very fortunate when I got out of college that Stockton was the first agency to offer me a position, and to be able to come home and work here, be around my family, be around the community I grew up in, was an amazing opportunity, and I've been here ever since.
All right. Yeah, I was going to ask you that, and you answered that question preemptively. You've been with Stockton the whole time. All right. Good deal. Good deal. Love that. Love that. Yeah, man. 'Cause we talked a little bit about me off air. That I'm a DJ off duty, as it were, and so I'm a big hip hop fan. And back in the '90s, Stockton was you would hear it a lot in the Bay Area rap. People talking about Stockton a lot. So yeah, it's grown a lot.
Yeah, Stockton has always had a great music scene. Obviously, when we were younger, 90s in the hip hop, but definitely in the late 60s, early 70s with soul and R&B. Several groups came out of Stockton. One, Ninth Creation, was sampled very extensively in early hip hop. But being a close proximity to the Bay Area and having that tie to Los Angeles, grew a music culture here. We had some great AM radio stations back in the day, 1420 AM, pushed a lot of music out. Like you, I was a hip hop head, and I DJ'd in college, but I had to work to a hip hop and R&B format, and I just started jazz. And then I worked my way up. But yeah, so yeah,
you DJ jazz.
No kidding. When I was at Fresno State at KFSR 90.7, and I had been working with some DJs, and they wanted to put me on, but they didn't have a hip hop or R&B spot. And they go, "Well, there's jazz. Do you know anything about jazz?" And I did. In high school, I was in the jazz band, concert band, tenor saxophonist. So I knew a lot of artists. I knew the music, and I DJ'd jazz at a 6 a.m. radio show on Saturday and Sunday mornings at times for the better part of 3 or 4 months before I got put on the evening shows with hip hop and R&B.
Wow, that's a journey right there.
Yeah, it was actually cool because a lot of the older alumni at Fresno listened to the campus radio station when they did yard work. So they would just call in and want to chit chat, or, "Hey, can you put this on for me?" And the radio station at KFSR had just a big long hallway full of old jazz vinyl. So I would just I'd throw a record on, I'd go back and just dig and pull another one out. So it was very fun. It was a great opportunity. And I really enjoyed it, and I continue to enjoy and work with music in the off time, kind of cathartic, kind of for officer wellness, and to get my mind off of stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to do that. You got to have something to for your mind to go to when you're not working, because you can't be thinking about that with stress. We'll talk about that. Our jobs and all that. Speaking of which, you kind of said that you were a DJ, you worked at a radio station, and you've been with Stockton your whole career. What kind of drew you to law enforcement? You were working in music, and then what was that impetus there?
Well, I had one of my uncles was part of the Summit County Sheriff's Department or Sheriff's Office here. He was a gang detective, a gang sergeant, homicide sergeant, and he would always come and tell us these stories about the work that he did. He told myself and my cousin. And it wasn't really the work that drew me to it. It was the amount of fun that he had with his best friend and with his coworkers and this team that they had. And the joke, the camaraderie and the good work they did, but just the amount of practical jokes they played on each other, and how these guys would always stick with each other, and how we go here to Lake Comanche and his partners would be with us, or
Right.
if they were working a homicide case and we were playing football, they would find a way to take a meal break, come watch 5 minutes of a game, and how he involved all his friends in his personal life, and he involved us with that. And again, the stories, when you're young, you hear this excitement of trying to chase down people who committed violent crimes, who did someone wrong, trying to bring justice and trying to bring truth to a case. And he was real big on that. So when I was about 16, I realized, this might be a good job for me. I've been playing football most of my adolescence, and I was always offensive lineman, so I was used to protecting people. And I thought, this is something that I can do. And it seems that if I would go and get an education, I could probably have a good career in it. So went to Fresno State, and 4 years later graduated, got my degree in criminology with a law enforcement emphasis. And as I left, I was at that crossroads where, okay, do I want to go in a career in municipal law enforcement? Do I want to stay in and get a master's and try and get a federal assignment? Or do I want to work at a radio station and do that? Because
Yeah.
there were several people that I DJed with at Fresno State that went on to work at big stations, including one that she currently works at Cameo right now in San Francisco. So these are all people that I worked around that I felt, hey, there's this opportunity for me, but I just felt the calling to law enforcement a little more because it felt just right. And then also I was engaged and I needed some more stability than the DJ life had. And definitely from what I was seeing coming out of like federal law enforcement, I know I found a lot of those positions, they moved every 4 years.
Yep.
You didn't know if we were going to go. And I was really intent and still am on starting and ending my career with the same wife. I'm figuring she met me when I was 18 and she saw something in me and she's still with me. Shout out to my wife. Hey, babe, love you.
Yeah. All right.
It's just, my wife and I have been together since '94. So she was with me when I was just a college student. Oh yeah, she's a great woman with a beautiful heart, and she's been so supportive of my career. And I think had I been a DJ, she would have supported me in that too. But
Right.
this is where I felt the calling was. This is a career. This is a vocation for me. This is something that I take very serious and that I give my all to.
Yeah. You mentioned a few things there. I want to mention that you talked about you wanted to end your career with the same wife. One thing that a lot of cops don't end up doing, you got your cops with the second wife and the third wife, and they got to stay on longer because they got to pay off the second wife and the third wife from the retirement and all that. So props to you for sticking with the same one there.
When I think some of that comes from my mentor, my uncle and his best friend, that they had these strong women in their lives, and these women that supported them in these careers. When they were working homicides and gangs, and they were gone for days at a time doing these investigations, the amount of support and trust that their wives gave them was amazing. I saw that in my wife, and I wanted to respect that as well. It goes to, and I understand people have decisions in their life, and people go through divorces. But I think as we've gotten on in law enforcement, especially in the last 10 years, when we discuss officer wellness, especially away from work, how what we do here can have a negative impact on your personal life. And I've known people here who have had marriages end sourly that said, had I taken care of myself mentally and physically and spiritually, I would not have lost that spouse.
Yeah,
and then there's some people
absolutely.
that say, it was probably better that they did.
Yeah, that part too. And another thing you mentioned was the camaraderie. The camaraderie you saw that your uncle had with his partners, and I'm sure you got a lot of that. That's one thing in law enforcement. The camaraderie that you have with your partners is a lot like team sports as well. And a lot of people miss that once they get out of law enforcement. Retire or what have you. They miss that, and yeah, it's something that a lot of other careers don't have.
Yeah, I grew up playing football. I grew up in marching and concert and jazz band. So I was always in kind of a team environment. had a core group of friends in college, and here I've had different colleagues that I have worked with off and on. That we were in each other's lives personally, and it's a great thing to see that. And I hope that once I retire, that's there. Much like I see the retirees we have that seem to do well are the ones that maintain that camaraderie. That Starbucks every Monday morning for roll call. Still, I got some of them that work here, as background investigators, as annuitants, and you can see the camaraderie there, and they're there for each other. And I think as much as we need to take care of ourselves, as we go on, we need to take care of our brothers and sisters on our teams.
Absolutely. And one last thing I wanted to bring up that you mentioned was sense of humor. The cop sense of humor that you learned about at an early age. We do have a different breed of humor that sometimes some people don't really understand, but sometimes we use that to cope with everything that we see on the job.
Yes, I definitely know and feel that laughter is cathartic. Some people say that police officers and law enforcement professionals, that we have a dark humor.
Yeah.
Very, very early in my career, I made friendship with my brother-in-law's father, who's now a retired ER surgeon. And some of the best cathartic conversations that I think I ever had were at the end of Thanksgiving table with this guy, because we had both seen things that no one else in the family had seen. And we would talk about them, not in a way to try and offend anybody, but a way to get it off our chest to someone else who understood what we were talking about. He talked about being, a surgeon ER in the 60s and 70s, and I talked about working the streets here and things I saw with violent crime and working in gangs and just child abuse type calls, and just on a basic call for service. So having that camaraderie with him helped me learn that it just doesn't have to be someone who wears a badge that you could share with, that you can open up to. There are other people out there that family and friends, and those friends who become family, that can help you get through this. That way you don't get to the end and it's all bottled up, and then you let 30 years worth of trauma just pour out at once.
Yep.
Got to let a little bit out all the time.
Absolutely, that part right there. So Sajor, what background is that name there?
So the name Sajor is actually a Filipino name. My dad's father was from the northern Philippines. He immigrated here in the 40s. Was part of the first Filipino infantry, went back and fought in the Pacific Theater. My dad's mother's family is from Guanajuato, Mexico, and then my mom's side is from Texas and parts of Sinaloa, Mexico. So it's a Spanish surname, but it's specific to the Philippines.
Okay. You speak any second languages?
No. I speak just enough Spanish to get through, a hideous call, or to understand when someone's going to punch me in my mouth, or to figure out where the good food is. It was like a lot of people, our generation. My dad speaks Spanish fluently. My mom understands it very well, can speak it when she absolutely needs to. But a lot of people, my generation, our parents didn't push the importance of a second language on us, because a lot of it was assimilation and learning English as well as you could, because them and their parents had been had their second language or their accents used against them. Right. So my parents were very, very important that I do well in school, that my education is strong. And again, my parents don't have accents, but my grandparents did, my great grandmother did. But it was important that, hey, you have to do whatever you can to not give people a reason not to give you an opportunity.
Yeah. Yep. And you are now a captain over there in Stockton PD. What are you responsible for now as a captain over there?
So currently I'm over the Administrative Services Division. I have personnel and training under my command. Personnel obviously is the hiring, the recruiting, getting people into academies, out of academies through FTO programs. Training, so that's all of our perishable skills training, our continued professional growth training that post requires, anything through the department. I also have all of our fleet management, so the department's vehicles are under me. I work close with the city fleet. I just recently got our neighborhood services under my command. So that's code enforcement, abatement, rental property type ordinances, and I have our animal shelter.
Okay.
So
Jack of all trades there, huh?
yeah, we have a lot of things that are either very supportive of the mission, or that you would not normally look at and say that's a normal police function. No, not many municipalities have code enforcement and an animal shelter. So not just animal control where you go out and catch stray dogs and cats. We actually have a full animal shelter with
Yeah.
we contract out with veterinary medicine. Not a lot of cities have that. Counties have that, but not a lot of cities our size have that.
Yeah, my agency, we have the animal shelter under our jurisdiction as well.
Mhm.
We used to have code enforcement, but then they moved over to the city side. I guess they wanted to, have a little control over that themselves. But we've
Yeah, a
got
lot of
animal
times that's
control.
over. Yes, a lot of times that code enforcement is like in building permits or a
Yeah,
city administrator side. But we have it here. We've had them here for a number of years. I really appreciate working with a lot of hardworking people in our code enforcement and our animal shelter that do a lot of hard work.
yeah. I think in my city, I think code enforcement moved over to fire. I'm not sure if they're under fire's purview or just city in general. I have to look at that, but yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. How many other captains are there? Is there another captain as well?
So there's five captains. So
Okay.
I'm over administrative services. There's field operations, which is basically patrol, special operations, which is traffic, and then your long term blight type issues, homelessness, dealing with issue properties that have been historic issues. Our investigations division, and then our tech services division, which is the majority of the civilian staff. So records, dispatch, crime analysis, property, the evidence tax. And I was over that division for about 4.5 years before I came here.
Okay. All right. How long you been a captain?
I've been a captain just over 7 years. So
All right.
been quite a minute. I've been able to be over 4 of the 5 divisions.
You guys rotate assignments every year or two or something like that, or
We rotate as needed as people promote in and out, and then it's who would be a good fit for the assignment, what's coming up, who has experience in what areas. Um,
okay.
I was very fortunate to go to tech services a couple months after I promoted to captain. I was in special operations, then I went to tech services and got to do some good upgrade, like a CAD upgrade. We brought on body cams, really worked hard on our data analytics and our forecast, our violent crime forecasting. So I got to do a lot while I was over there, and I think some of that had to do with I had technology just made sense to me,
Right.
and I
Okay.
was given a great opportunity by my deputy chief at that time to come over and do it.
There you go. There you go. So you mentioned that you were over recruiting and personnel and things of that nature, and earlier we talked about 2020 being a major pain in our thorn in our sides there,
Yes,
because of a number of reasons, and as a result of that, recruiting has gone down. Personnel has gone down across the nation. The agencies. Have you guys seen a decrease in personnel as well, based on number of factors, mainly being 2020?
we've seen a decrease in applicants. We've seen a decrease in qualified applicants making eligibility lists. We have seen, I wouldn't say our separations have been pretty steady. We keep a between a 10 and 15% attrition rate just kind of naturally,
Mm-hmm.
but not sure if it's specific to everything that happened in 20 and 2021. But like a lot of agencies across America, we are seeing a decrease in people applying for the job.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the solution to that? Do you think?
I think the solution is multi-pronged. If I had the correct solution, I'd probably be a billionaire. But I believe,
Right,
like, I
right.
believe, yeah, I know I'd write a book and I get paid. But I think it has to do with what we're already doing, which is your high level recruiting and putting out your ads and billboards. But it's also things like this, humanizing police officers. Like I said earlier, my mentor was a person I knew personally. He personalized law enforcement for me. It just wasn't a guy in a uniform. He showed me that you can be you and be in law enforcement.
Right.
And I think we have to get our recruiting has to almost go on that person to person level. So when you find somebody who is interested, making that personal connection and helping them get through the way. Our recruiting team, we have virtual recruiting sessions. When people call in or anybody, you're in our community, go, hey, I know this kid, he wants to be a police officer. Give me his number, we'll call him. And we'll call him, hey, this is how you apply. This is how we could help you. Hey, these are some of the pitfalls in the background process. This is what you need to do to, hey, come work out with us. We'll help you get over the wall. Hey, if you're having trouble
Right.
taking the written test, here are the type of books you can study. And I think we do that. And I think the part that we really need to get into is everybody discusses, community policing as a philosophy. Well, there's a part of that community policing has that we haven't tapped into, is that community recruiting. We need people from the community, especially with the push from any law enforcement agency, the municipality, saying, hey, we want people from our community to work on our police department. Okay, then bring them to us. My uncle brought me on. I didn't come to the same agency, but he helped show me the way. Anytime I meet a young man or young woman that wants to be in law enforcement, I try and show them the way. But also, I'm constantly telling people, well, do you know anybody? Well, and they say, well, I don't know anybody who wants to be a police officer. Yeah, but you know any good people? Do you know any people that want to help? Do you know any people that want something bigger in life? Because if you look at it this more than just a job, and even more than a career, like I said earlier, this is kind of like a vocation. This is a calling. You have to have it right here to do it. Because if you don't have it here, you might do it. You might be a police officer, but then you might leave, or you might work 30 years and never try to make a difference.
Right.
But those that have it here, there's something different about them. They put more into it. They put their hearts and souls in it. And I know several officers that I've worked with over the years that weren't even from Stockton, that made this place their home, even if it was only for 40, 50 hours a week. And they cared about the people in the community. They cared about their brothers and sisters on the team. And they were some of our best recruiters because they were such positive people that people, I want to be like that. I want to do what you do. Show me how. And I think that's where we're at, is if we're going to make our departments look like our community, then our community has to help us bring people on, bring us the people who want to make a difference. And we could have that conversation. Okay, well, how do we get there? I understand that, especially here in California, we're really ahead of the game on how we hire, the background process, the post mandates, the legislation on requiring certain levels of backgrounds, psychological exams, the recent legislation on finding people free of bias. We're further across than a lot of states here in the United States, and our communities have to understand that too. Is, hey, we want to bring people, but understand we also have these standards that we cannot change. These are standards that are put there for us. It's not like I can go, well, hey, this guy's good. This young lady, we're going to give her a pass. No, there are standards that we have to hold, and there's a reason why we want to keep this as professional as possible. With any profession you have standards, you have oversight, you have constant certification, you have constant training. So I'm hoping that in the next 5 to 10 years, those relationships that we've been building here at Stockton Police Department, other agencies have been building in the communities, helps to bolster recruiting.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned trying to recruit officers from the community. What does your department look like? What does the city of Stockton look like? Do they kind of mirror each other? Does your department mirror the community?
So one of our strategic goals is to hire a diverse workforce that helps mirror the community. Like many other departments, we are actively not only doing our basic recruiting, but we go to community events that are that the community throws. We go to job fairs, we go to family days. We go out there and we show our recruiting team, hey, we have jobs, we have careers, we have here the calling for you, and we're working towards that. We're not at the point where we completely mirror community, but we're working on it. We recognize that, and we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going.
And what about females?
We have our females percentage does not match our community, much like most other law enforcement agencies.
Right, it's a male-dominated profession for sure.
It It has been. I have currently right now two of my personnel staff are women who are two of my main recruiters, and I believe it's just going out there and showing, hey, this is a viable career. This is something that you
Right.
can do, and I talk to people from myself as, hey, you can do this career and you can still be a parent, you can still be a father and be involved. And my recruiting team, they use those personal stories that, hey, I am a mother, hey, I am a sister, hey, I'm a single parent, or hey, I take care of my elderly family member. And part of that is humanizing the position. We're
Yes.
not we're not robots. We don't all have high and tights. We're not all 6'1" and 110 pounds. I'm definitely not. But I'm not. I mean,
I wouldn't have guessed that, Captain. I wouldn't have guessed that, Captain.
I'm not 6'1". I'm 5'10". I'm 5'10" first thing in the morning. But I know who I am and I love that. And I'm okay with who I am. And I accept that. So someone else can look and say, you know what? I could be that. I don't look like the stereotypical Webster's Dictionary police officer, but I want to make a difference. I want to help bring people justice that have been victimized. I want to help find the truth. Or hey, you know what? I just want to go and help people on the worst day of their life.
Yeah. Yeah. So what other assignments have you had during your career?
Oh wow! So got hired in '97, hit the field training program, got out, and was asked to go work a director patrol unit out in southeast Stockton. And I worked out there for 2 years. And basic duties is dealing with street level narcotics, gangs, crime and blight, working with community groups to help solve issues. A real basic community policing model. And then I went from there to being in an assignment where I was actually assigned to the Housing Authority of San Joaquin through the city of Stockton, working in the housing development with a partner, and worked there for a couple more years. I worked on our narcotics unit for about 4.5 years. I specialized in asset seizure and forfeiture, and towards the end of that, in heroin investigations. Then went to a HIDA team, promoted to sergeant, spent about 4 years on patrol.
Let's back
Nothing,
up real quick.
yeah.
What
Okay. Oh, yeah.
for our viewers and listeners, what is HIDA?
HIDA is a high impact drug trafficking area. So it's like a federal task force of narcotics officers. I was
Right.
assigned out of Modesto, California, with Stan DEA, with Modesto PD, Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office, IRS. There was a guy from the U.S. Air Force was on the team. It was just kind of, it was a task force of different people, and we looked at high narcotics targets. So the importing, more of the people that were bringing in higher weight, and I got to work on some very good cases with them.
Yep. How long did you do that?
I did that for about 6 months, and then I promoted out to sergeant. So I left a very good assignment to get some stripes. And
Yeah. Right.
immediately went back to nights and worked for about 4 years as a sergeant on patrol, promoted to lieutenant, and all lieutenants go back to the watch commander's office. So I was in the watch commander's office for about 6 months. I was fortunate that I was transferred to our special operations, strategic operations area, and I had the south half of Stockton. So dealing with back in 2012, the beginning of the homelessness issue, dealing with blight properties. I helped to establish the Chiefs Community Advisory Board, reinstitute a lot of our neighborhood watch and business watch here in Stockton. And I did that for a couple of years, and then I promoted to captain. And I stood in special operations for a couple months. Then I went to tech services, like I said. Had a lot of work in computer or CAD upgrade, computer aided dispatch, and RMS, or records management system, bringing our violent crime forecast policing along, trying to get a lot of people hired. Pretty much anything that either connected to the internet, plugged into the wall, I dealt with it. So it was some great experience on the administrative side, working with a lot of our, not only our non-sworn, but other city departments like IT, HR, community development. I had the crime analytical team, the crime analysis team, and we helped out a couple of different departments with their data needs. And then moved to investigations for about 6 months. And then I was called upon to come here to admin services, and I've been here since the summer of 19.
All right. You mentioned a little bit ago about the homeless issue. I know it's been exploding, at least down here in Southern California. What's the problem look like up there in Northern Cal?
I can speak to here in Stockton. We do have an increase in homelessness. We have a number of community groups and the police department that work together to address the blight that comes with it, the garbage that comes around it, some of the health issues. We work with specifically, like with the animal shelter, we work with a nonprofit that one of their duties outside of working with us is working with the homeless population and helping provide services for the animals that the homeless own, helping get medical attention to them, and for those people who can't take care of their pets anymore, helping find homes for them as well. But this is the homelessness that we see. I'm sure you're seeing it down there. We see it up here, and I really hope that as time goes on, we find a way to get people sheltered, to find services and help people realize they need services when they need them, help get people fed. Because there's a part of us that, even though we have laws enforced, I'm still a human being. I haven't been affected personally. Like I've never been homeless, but I have family members that are homeless for various reasons, and no amount of us talking to them has changed that.
Yeah.
So it's personal to me, but also understand there's a personal responsibility on the other side that, hey, you have to accept the help when it's there. You have to make some personal decisions.
Yeah. And another part of that equation is mental health as well.
Yes.
How are you guys dealing with the mental health crisis up there as well? Do you have mental health professionals that actually work with you in your department or assigned to you? That I know that's the big thing now. We're assigning social workers to calls, for the defund or reallocating funding of police departments. Have you guys experienced any of that lately?
So a lot of the behavioral health services here are run by San Joaquin County, not necessarily the city of Stockton. Here at the police department, through our special operations division, we do work in tandem with them, especially when we do outreach and homeless encampment cleanups. But on a personal level, there's a member that works with mental health and with the homeless, who's a personal friend of mine. We're both alumni of the same high school. He's considerably older than me, and I make sure I tell him that. But we sometimes
I'm sure he appreciates that.
Yeah,
too.
he appreciates that. Yeah, but on on those micro levels, when even as a captain of admin services, if he calls and needs some help, I'm going. I'm getting in the car and going. If I need some help, he's going to come and help. Or if someone calls me and says, "Hey, I don't know who to call. Hey, call this guy. Tell him I sent you because he's going to help you out." So again, we had any problem. There's these macro answers, but on the micro level, people got to get out there on a personal level, just do it. So I do believe that a number of the calls for service that law enforcement in general goes to has its roots in mental health issues. I do believe that we have to find a way to incorporate those clinicians and those practitioners either in a preventative model or in a responsive model with us. Because if we don't, we're going to keep seeing more of the same, where across America you've seen law enforcement respond and do what law enforcement does to people who are in a mental health crisis.
Right. And, training is another way that we can kind of get through this as well. But these calls, we got to respond to them first before these mental health professionals. We got to make sure they're seen safe. And sometimes, like you just said, law enforcement does what we have to do to make sure that, we're safe and anyone and the person that we're getting called on is safe. So a lot of these
you're right.
moving factors here.
With the training, helping officers identify when someone's in crisis, helping officers especially de-escalate as much as possible. And maybe, our careers are about the same length. We're telling people more now than ever is slow down.
Right.
Slow the call down. We got time. Talk. Just talk.
That part.
And there might be a time where you have to use force. But did we do everything else we can within reason? Did we try and de-escalate? You try and talk to them. Did you? Hey, this guy's just standing there. Just step away from him. Don't force the issue.
Right.
Just see what's going
Right.
on. See, again, it might just be a person who's having a very bad day that has had just too much. And I think when we discuss that, we understand. No, all of us have bad days too. There's days where you're upset so much you're just screaming at the windshield. Well, no. Add on top of that, let's say you lost your
Uh-huh.
job, you can't pay your rent, and your dog just got hit by a car. You're probably having a really bad day.
Probably.
So
Yep.
just show that empathy as much as you can. But if you have to go to the point where you have to arrest somebody, then you have to do it.
Yeah. Yep. And some of us have some support, meaning our families. See behind you there, you've got some family there. What's your family situation there? You got, I know you got a wife, lovely wife that you spoke about
Yeah.
earlier. Anybody else in the household?
Yeah, so my wife and I have been together, like I said, since 94, been married since 99. I have two teenage boys. One's 18. He's in the senior year of high school. I have a 6-year-old sophomore. Uh, I have two Chorky rescue dogs. So for those who don't know what a Chorky is a mixed breed dog of part Chihuahua, part Yorkie. So they're my 5 and 6 pounds of fury. I love them to death. There's nothing like seeing this somewhat large man walk down the street with a 6 pound dog, just looking super tough. But that's us in our house. My parents still live here in Stockton. My sister lives on the other side of the country. I have family here, family in the South Valley, Fresno, Tulare, Visalia area. But mostly it's just me and my wife and my kids.
Okay. Any of them want to follow in Dad's footsteps and be a cop?
No, no, and it's not me. It's not me not recruiting them or tell them not to do it. I believe my sons can do whatever they want. If they want to do this, I'd be more than supportive. My older son wants to go into computer science, computer software engineering, and my younger son wants to be a science teacher.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah,
Both
my,
noble, worthy professions.
yeah. My wife is an educator. She teaches kindergarten. So
Oh
I think
wow.
they've seen more of
Much
that.
props to her.
Yeah, but
Talking about a
she
mental
she
health
loves them.
crisis there.
She loves them small, and she loves the fact that every year she gets a new batch of young kids. We talk about mental health stability. Seeing what had happened during the last 2 years with online learning and how um, it impacted my sons and their friends, how it impacted some of the kids that she's taught. Just from what I can see, we have to understand that these might be issues we might be dealing with for years. The
Yeah.
socialization of young children who didn't get preschool and kindergarten, all of a sudden they're in first grade. Or let's say a kid
Right.
who the last time they were in school was sixth grade, and now they're ninth graders. Or that
Yeah.
10th
Yep.
grader who now is a freshman in college and didn't have that socialization. So how is that going to impact us on law enforcement when we have to deal with them? Or how's that going to impact us
Yeah.
when they're trying to become employees and get into the career? So
Yes.
we in law enforcement we can't live in this silo. We have to see the world around us. We have to understand how it impacts us. I teach a class at Sac State. I'm an adjunct lecturer there, and I always appreciate having non-criminology majors in my class because they bring a perspective that most of the crim majors don't have. And I tell my students, hey, these are people you need to listen to because when you get into law enforcement, these are the people that are going to be working at HR and IT and are going to be in the community at the
Uh-huh.
nonprofits and the NGOs. These are people you're going to work with. We're not here to solve the problem by ourselves. We solve it all together.
Right.
So when we understand what's going on with the community around us, it helps us understand more about us. It helps us understand how we can get to the finish line of providing a safe and secure community for the people we work with.
All right. All right. So with 24 years on, how much longer are you doing?
I have about 4 years left, not
Okay.
because I don't want to work anymore. For those across America, I have classic PERS, so I'm 3 at 50. So when I turn 50, I'll pretty much max out. Uh, I don't think I don't intend my career to end there. I'll always be looking for other opportunities in retirement. And if nothing else, I feel that law enforcement has given me so much as a career. It's helped me support my family. It's helped me
Yes.
work hard and follow passions. Provided a great life for my wife and kids. It's given my parents a great sense of pride of what I do. That I'm going to continue to give back. So whether that's teaching at the academy, whether it's teaching at the university at the JC level, I plan on doing that, and I plan on my retirement volunteering a lot, either helping like science Olympiads at elementary schools or coaching high school football for free. I got to give back.
All
I
right.
got to give back to the places who helped make me.
Got to get back. All right. All right.
Unfortunately, I just don't have a lot of time now. I know a lot of people give time. I give my time to my family. So anything my sons are involved in, my wife is involved in, I get voluntold into stuff. I've coached in sports and things like that, or just being involved in my family's life. I think that's important for me right now. And as my kids grow up and they grow out and they leave, I'll have more time. And I know in my retirement I'm gonna have plenty of time. And I believe that coaching and helping the schools would be a great place.
All right. Four more years. 4 more years. It'll be here before you know it.
And
That's.
I had
about
a
the
person
time
tell
I'm
me
pulling
that.
it.
Yeah, I had a.
Well, these
a
24
senior,
just snuck up on you, right?
Yeah, it did. It just
Yeah.
it seriously feels like I was just wearing jerseys and jeans and Jordans and narcotics a couple years ago, and I left narcotics in 2007.
Yeah.
It's been
Yep.
a minute. It's been 14 years, and the last couple of years have flown by. And I'm sure the next couple will fly by. And I plan on working every last day of it. I plan on doing as much as I can for my department in this community until it's time for me to leave, and then I'll leave on empty.
On empty. On empty. And to kick you out, right?
Yeah, to kick me,
Yeah.
I'll leave, but I'm gonna work this job.
There you go. There you go. Right until the wheels fall off.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
Yep. That's what they say. So what's the most rewarding part of your job now as a captain?
The most rewarding part of my job right now is when I see. Oh, I have something for every section. So when I see someone we hired make their training program and make their probation, that final 18 months when they've made their P1, now they're a non-probation officer. It's great, and I'm starting to get a couple of those because of when I first came over 2 years ago. That first group of people are starting to make it. When I see the training we do, it helps our officers be safe. When our neighborhood services section, when they help make the communities look good and make communities feel good about themselves. And of course, with animal shelter here in Stockton, I'm sorry when I say mine, I'm not trying to say it's just mine, but I have a lot of ownership over my team over there, and the small team, the hard work they do. But every time we hear about a positive outcome, a dog being adopted, or a dog being fostered or rescued, or a dog or a cat being returned to their owner, that's an awesome feeling. Because like I said earlier, my Chorkeys are rescues. I rescued them from our shelter about 6 years ago, and there's something about that relationship between person and animal that especially for the last couple of years has been very rewarding, very beneficial on an emotional level and on a wellness level. So different parts of the job, different satisfaction. Each of them have their own level, and it's a great place in my heart. But yeah, definitely seeing people get hired, seeing the looks on their families' faces, seeing them graduate the academies, seeing them work the streets and learn from mistakes, and then they make their time. It's an amazing thing, and again, positive outcomes with the animals.
All right. Yes. Yes, indeed. But on the flip side, one of the more challenging parts of your job as captain?
I think just in general, being in law enforcement, not being able to help in all situations and having to tell somebody this is all I can do right now. That has to be one of the biggest challenges out there. It's been hard over my career to say, I know this is the issue and you called us to help you. This is all I can do with what I have and with what you gave me. If the situation changes, we can maybe do more. Um, it's hard to hear people say, we called you, you took X amount of minutes to get here, and not understanding that we had a number of other very critical incidents going on that we just could not get there for your call as quick as you would have wanted us to. Um, for me, it's, I got into this job to help people, to help my community, and there's times where you do this as best you can, and you feel like it's still not enough.
Yep. But all you can do is your best, and it sounds like you're doing it up there in Stockton. I appreciate everything that you're doing up there, and once you retire, it sounds like you already got your plans laid out to do some coaching, do some teaching, and sounds like you're doing a lot of mentoring. Let me ask you that real quick. Who's mentored you along the way as far as your career has gone?
Well, obviously my uncle, before I got hired and before he passed away when I was in narcotics. I've had a couple mentors here on the job. Good friend of mine, Scott Metters. He's a retired captain. I worked for him for years, either in different assignments, and we were both captains at the same time. A couple of our deputy chiefs over the years that really took me aside and said, "Hey, this is what you're doing. Have you thought about going and getting your master's? Have you thought about going and what are you thinking about your future? What are you thinking about your future here at the department? And honestly, what are you thinking about after when you leave here? Because 50 is young now.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got hired, them dudes that were 50, 55, like, ooh, they looked like they had a lot of miles on them.
Oh yeah.
That's that dark humor we talk about. Some of these people have they look like they had lived a lot of life, and like life had been hard on them. And I'm not sure if you remember, but there was this when in the early 90s there was a study that most officers that retired at 55 only lived 5 more years to collect PERS.
Right.
I'm like, I'm beating that.
Yep.
Heck no. That's why I jog and lift. So I'm pushing past that, but taking care of ourselves. So having mentors that said, what, not only what are you doing here, what are you doing at home? And then, not just people that were over me by rank, but people my same rank and people who I had supervised that on a personal level said, hey, when I was just not doing well, hey man, you need to take care of yourself. Hey, you need someone to talk to. Understand that none of us get through this together. So having that, there are specific people, like I said, good friend Scott Metters, my good friend Trevor Womack, who was a deputy chief here. He's now the chief up in Salem, Oregon. Those two very specifically really had a hand throughout my career, just talking to me and guiding me. Hey, this is the kind of things you want to do, these steps you want to take. And even kind of took those text messages and calls when we were off duty. Hey, I need some help with this.
Right. And of course, you've been able to do the same for people behind you as well, correct?
I try to, and I try to do it not as hey, I'm mentoring because I want you to be a captain or I want you to be this certain rank. I want people to be successful in their career. So definitely anybody I've worked with, I've tried to set them up. If I'm their supervisor, hey, how can I help you be better at what you do, but how can I help you be a better person? And that might be, hey, you know what? I'm your boss. Hey, man, you need to take some time off. That might be Monday morning. Let's talk about what's going on at home. You need someone to talk to. You want to talk, or do you need peer support? But also, hey, asking, what do you want to do? Or let me help you get the training for that. Do you want to do a certain assignment? Hey, let me help you learn how to do the staff work for that. And telling people, hey, there is more in this career than just what you're doing right now, and identifying, hey, you can do this. You can be a sergeant, lieutenant, captain. You can do whatever you want here, and you can go work these essays and go and do them well. Do it, put your all into it, but then always kind of dovetailing it with, but don't forget home.
Don't forget home.
Work this job. Do you and be the best you. That also means be the best you at home, be the best spouse, be the best parent that you can be the best family member you can be the best neighbor you can be, because that'll make you better in what you do here.
That part right there. That part right there. All right, Captain. I appreciate you coming on and having some fun with this this podcast here. But the fun's not done yet. We got a little game. Yes, I play a little trivia with my guests. So before I go, I'm gonna play this here with you. Let me get this set up here for you. This game is called
Black or blue, 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 black or blue.
All right, so this game here is called Black or Blue. Your category today, Captain, is Monday morning quarterback. Since you're a big football guy, this should be easy for you. NFL team colors. I'm going to just give you a team, and you tell me, is one of their major colors black or is one of their major colors blue? Black or blue. Okay. That should be real easy for you, real easy for you. I should have picked maybe something like golf or soccer or something, but all right, we'll get you.
You would have thrown me with soccer.
Yeah, I would have thrown you with soccer or hockey or something. Yeah. You might be a big hockey guy, but yeah. But
golf,
NFL teams,
soccer, yeah.
NFL teams is the category. So here's your first team here: the Buffalo Bills, black or blue?
Blue.
Yes, they are blue. All right. Off to a resounding start there. How about your next team here, the Pittsburgh Steelers, black or blue?
Black.
They are black, yes. Everybody knows that. Black and gold. Yep. How about the Cincinnati Bengals?
Black, the Tiger Stripes.
Yes, they are Tiger Stripes.
I had to think about that one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I almost got you then. But you knew that one. How about the Detroit Lions?
Blue, because one of my lieutenants is a huge Lions fan. He's got stuff in the office.
Oh, I'm sorry. How's he doing with Jared Goff that we shipped out of here in L.A.?
I felt so bad for when they almost won on Thanksgiving. I texted him, "Hey man, they're gonna win." He goes, "Thanks for jinxing us." They lost. Yeah, it's been a long season.
It's been a long decade, 2 decades ever since Barry left. Yep. How about the Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys?
Got that blue star.
They do have that blue star. Yep. And how about the Denver Broncos?
Blue.
Oh yes, blue. Yes. Got that blue and
the
orange.
problem
The
is
orange crush.
all these alternate uniforms that we're now messes you up.
Yes, but their primary colors
are
definitely this here. So, how about the Atlanta Falcons?
Oh, the Dirty Birds wear black.
Dirty Birds, yes, they do. Indeed. And we talked about the Rams. How about the Rams, LA Rams?
Oh, they wear that blue.
They wear that blue, yes. All right, my man. How about the last one here, the New England Patriots?
Blue.
Yes, they are definitely blue. You went 100% here, so we are going to call you
All I do is win.
the winner. Everybody hands go up.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, your
awesome,
hands went up there.
Awesome.
All right. Yes. You did not get one wrong. I think I gave you too easy of a category there, being a football guy. But
you'd have been soccer. It'd have been a lot of
Yeah. Right.
That's the soccer's that one sport I cannot get into. Pretty much every other sport I could watch. Soccer, I just kind of go.
Yeah. Next. I know my in-laws are into soccer, but it is what it is. But you got through that unscathed. Our troops, we got to get our admin through some of these situations. Sometimes we got to pull them. We got to pull them through the fire here. So I helped you out there. But yes, we got to. All right, Captain. I appreciate everything that you are going through up there in Stockton. Before I get you out of here, any words for the audience? Any words of wisdom before we let you go here?
Del, I want to thank you for having me on. This is a great opportunity to showcase the human side of law enforcement and how we're just people. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the fact that you are taking the time out of your life to do this and to provide a platform to provide this this service, and I appreciate it. I can't say enough of appreciation for this, and I enjoy your show. Seen them all, and there it's a lot of fun. You had a good friend of mine, Jeff Liu from East Palo Alto on a couple months back. So I've been watching, and hey, it's a great show. I wish you the best of luck, and keep it up, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Captain. Everybody, that's Captain Antonio Sajor. Thanks again. I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
Will do. Take care, Dale.
All right. All right, Square Pegs, that wraps up another edition of the Black and Blue Podcast. I want to thank my guest, Stockton, California Police Captain Antonio Sajor, for stopping by the show and having some fun with me. I appreciate you, sir, and all that you do. If you guys out there appreciated this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the episode on whatever podcast platform you're on. I'll be back in another couple weeks with another fun and fact-filled law enforcement interview, but till then, y'all know what to do. Stay black and blue. I'll holla at you. Deuces.
This has been a Maitre D' Entertainment presentation.